expect in your meetings today. So I think hopefully you each saw an email I sent out earlier. If not, you'll be getting some packets that has divided you each into teams. What I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to call team leader names and ask you guys to just sort of stand up or raise your hands so that for folks who may not know who you are, you guys can easily identify your team leaders when you get off the bus. And so what's the best idea then is to find your teams and sort of coordinate right when we get off the bus. Okay, so I'm Stephanie, as I said. I'm team 1. Your list may say something else, but I'm team 1. Sumie, she's with team 2. Everyone say hi. Nora, behind me. It's not Alvin, and she is team 3. Team 4, Rebecca. Everyone say hi to Rebecca. Colbert and Manny are tag teaming, team number 5. Manny's not wearing his lion costume today, so you might not recognize him, but Tiffany, team 6. Okay, Greg, team 7. And Greg, you have someone who's driving, so she'll figure that out. And Kimberly, team 8. Okay, so in terms of logistics, so you know your team leaders. When you get off the bus, look for your teams. Each of your team leaders has 2 different things. They have packets for your elected officials. There's 1 bag for each elected official. When you have time to sit down with each other, take a look at what's in that packet. And we'll talk about that in a second. Then there is another bag that has a folder for each of you, a writing pen for each of you, and an Invest in Libraries pin for each of you. And your name tags. So take a look at those as well. But in your folders and in the elected official folders, the 2 main items that you're looking at really are these. These are our ask documents, okay? One is from the New York Library Association. That's who we're here with today. There'll be library systems from across the state coming. So everyone has that same talking point. The other is the New York Public Libraries document. So that talks about the money that the New York Public, that's not that one. This one. The money we receive from the state. So what we're really asking for today is to increase state library aid to $102.6 million. Okay? That's basically $11 million from where we need to be. $20 million of that comes to the New York Public Library. And when you look at your form here, the money goes to a lot of different places, but it's specifically earmarked for 4 different things on top of general library aid. Funding for the Schomburg Center, funding for the Science, Industry, and Business Library, funding for the high school library for the blind, and then funding for programs and services to support CUNY students. So look through this. Again, ask us any questions that you might have. The last thing that we're asking members for is for a member item. What does that mean? It means we want money for our branches to support collections. Okay? So Nora's going to talk to you a little bit about what we want you guys to say today on top of that, and so how you guys can add some flavor to the conversation. But take a look at those documents. I think that's it. Check, mic check. No, I'm kidding. I want to be a DJ.
So I think what's helpful for our team leaders is to, in your sheets, if you have a team, if you see the photo of the elected that you're meeting with, I've written down all of their branches that they have in that elected. So you'll see that on your Facebook, for example. The Facebook is in your folder, so you'll see Latoya Joyner has Highbridge Branch. So if there's someone in my group from Highbridge, I would really want them to speak about the programming and everything that's going on. Now, I don't have anyone from Highbridge in my team. So instead, that meeting flow, essentially, you want to introduce yourself. You want to talk about your branches, the programs, which you see. You want to talk about if we're asking for $15,000 for collections, what that could mean if you had an increase in collections at your branch. You want to talk about after school or early literacy. You really want them to understand that it's not just going in, checking out a book and leaving. I literally was just talking to a random girl on the street. She saw my library bag and was like, people even go to libraries anymore? Everything's online. So we're literally still fighting that conversation even with the elected officials. So I don't want you to feel like you have to go in there and know everything like Stephanie or the rest of the team and, oh, the state budget aid ask is, no. We want you to go in there and really talk about your branch, your community, what it impacts, how the impact is on your people that come in every day. Are you serving homeless people? Are you serving English language learners? Are you serving teens and children and helping early literacy? And you realize this 3-year-old now knows their alphabet. We want those sorts of stories that will remain ingrained in their brain so that when they do go up there to ask for a state budget aid, it's increased. Culver.
It's like Woodstock is on our list, right? But if they ask us when is the projected date for reopening, what should we say?
Woodstock.
Woodstock.
Since Woodstock is closed, what's the projected date for opening?
Woodstock is on our list.
Really good question, and I don't have an answer for you, but he was asking if someone asked at the Woodstock branch when it's reopening. This is really important. If someone asks a question you do not know the answer to, don't feel like you have to have one. Say that, and someone from our government affairs office will get back to you and write it down. So all the team leaders in your folder, you have a feedback form, which is basically a way for you to tell us what happened in your meeting that we need to follow up on. So we'll collect those from you on the bus ride back, but
So Woodstock is at 17, but we could say early spring 2017. Reality is, or late spring. The reality is a lot of the members will probably be in session, so we'll be meeting with their staff. So I think that they understand too that we won't have all of the answers right then and there, and I think that's okay. It's actually a great thing because they're the ones who actually make the decisions. And they're the ones who influence the members, whereas the members' brains are normally in 20 other places. You also get capital budget requests. So within your docket, within your folders, you'll have a letter to the elected, and if there's any capital ask for that particular elected, then there'll be like a nice little sheet that breaks out what the ask is. For example, 58th Street Branch, ADA compliance, $1 million. That's all you need to know. You don't have to know what needs the ADA. Well, is it the entrance or the elevators or the bathrooms? It's okay. If they ask those questions, again, just make a note and then say, we'll get back to you on that, but for now, this is what we have, and we'll, follow up as soon as possible. So these are all of our critical maintenance needs. That's our focus right now. We go in there. If they have the list, if they don't have the list, for example, then they don't have anything in their district that needs a critical maintenance act. So don't worry about it. We're just going to focus on collections, programming, getting our state aid budget up, right? So if they do have a list, these are critical maintenance needs, which is the same thing we've been talking about with participatory budgeting, same thing we've been talking about with our community board, same thing we've been talking about with our city council members. These asks have not changed. This is the focus of the year. So we all know what that means. And even if you don't know what this particular ADA compliance means, you all work at these branches, so you can say, well, I have a leaky roof and this is what happens. Or, I know sometimes the ramps, we need better ramps, or the doors are too heavy for someone in a wheelchair. Like, use your experiences to be able to speak to some of these issues. So she asked if you didn't hear Valentina, she asked if she's not at a particular branch, she works in development, for example, how could she contribute to the conversation? And so she was saying, can she talk about how important government funding is because it's the majority of the funding for the branch? Absolutely.
for you too. I mean, sometimes you have public officials will say, well, oh, you do all this private fundraising, you don't need our money. But it's actually the opposite way around, right? Like, private funders want to know that the city and the state are doing their part, and then they want to do on top of that. They don't want to be doing like our basic maintenance everyday needs. So we can talk about how it's important for the state and the city to come to the table so that we can leverage that to do even more, not just do opening our doors. member item folders too, or the member folders, so those are the ones that the team leaders have. Each member is also getting a sheet that shows statistics for the branches in their district. So that's visits, circulation, programs, and program attendance. So it's all fiscal year FY15 because that's the full year's worth of data that we have. So you guys can take a look at that too. You know, if it's your branch or if it's not your branch, I mean, these are great talking points to say, you know, look at how many people are in your district and look at how many people are actually coming through the door every day and using the services, using the program. So I don't think, you know, these numbers once a year maybe look at these numbers when we come to meet with them and talk to them about, you know, how their constituents are using our location. So that's something else that you can flag to them too while you're talking to them. Excited? Districting in your folder when you get it. So wait, how many people have never been to Albany before? Hello, welcome to the state capitol. It's beautiful. So we are being dropped off at the opposite end of the plaza from our destination. That's just because that's where they make us drop off the bus. So where we are dropped off is where we are meeting the bus at 3 o'clock. So just make note of that. There is a map of the plaza in your folder. Basically, you are walking straight across. You can follow us. We'll all go together. You'll be going through what is essentially like airport security. Once you're behind the metal detector area, I would suggest do not leave until your meetings are over because you'll have to go back through the security checkpoint. On the opposite side, there are vending machines. There is a Dunkin' Donuts. McDonald's is not behind you. You have to go to McDonald's. So if you want to hold out for McDonald's, wait till after your meeting and then you can come back out. But just to let you know that it will take some time to go through that metal detector. So take a look at when your first meeting is. You know, some of you may have a break between when we get there. If you're in Monique's group, your meeting is at 11, so you guys are going to be like doing a fun run down the hallway and through the metal detectors. So just a word about that, about the logistics. Take a look at the map. It's really straightforward once you're there, but it is a little bit of a walk. Not too far, but it's not. We're not getting dropped off at the front door.